Hey, hi, hello, it's me, Rad, and I heard you were looking to get into Kamen Rider. Well, no, I didn't hear about it really, but since you're watching this video, I kind of assumed that you were. I hope that's alright. It's possible you heard about this series from any number of places. Maybe you heard about it on a popular forum, a multi-fandom blog you've been following for a while, or a Let's Play channel that may bring it up from time to time. Maybe you've heard one of your favorite wrestlers from Japan was a villain on one of the movies. All those are pretty dope ways to find out about it, and hopefully this video will help you figure out if you really want to dip your toe in and see what comes out.
Get some help.
Anyways, you want to get into the Kamen Rider, huh? Well, there are a few things you should know and understand first, so let's go over them real fast before I tell you the best place to start. Don't worry, baby bird, I gotcha. Let's fucking learn a thing. The history. Kamen Rider's a long-running, now annually rebranded series about people using special belts to transform into super-armored heroes called, well, Kamen Riders. They get their names from the Japanese word for mask, kamen, and the fact that they all, most, have motorcycles that they ride. Easy, right? When I say annually rebranded, I mean that each year a new series that is fully disconnected from the last will start up, with a new cast, a new setting, a new tone, and most importantly, a new Kamen Rider. Each Kamen Rider is unique in their personalities and overall gimmicks, but they usually have things that unite their designs in one way or another. They tend to have a few signature moves that carry over from series to series too. One such move is the iconic Rider Kick, a devastating diving kick that regularly sees the riders kicking through the monster they're fighting, resulting in a massive explosion afterwards. It's dope. But this can be a bit confusing for some people. This series has been going on for, as of the making of this video, 44 years, which is longer than a lot of people watching this video have been alive. And you'd think there'd have to be an exact place to start to understand everything, or even a best place to start in general, and while the second part is kind of true, the first one isn't. Each series, except for Kamen Rider Decade, can be enjoyed fully on its own without prior knowledge of the series to get the most out of it. We'll get into why you shouldn't start with Decade in a bit, but just trust me on that one for now. That said, there are places that are better to start than others, and if you're going to get into it, I think these are some of the best shows to go for at first. The starting ground. I think that we should start off with something that holds a lot of significance in my heart, as it was the first show in the series that I watched, and that would be Kamen Rider Denno. Kamen Rider Denno was a series about a man with the worst luck in the world, Ryotaro Nogami, who ends up in situations that wouldn't make any sense if it wasn't for his almost miracle-like bad luck. Somehow, his bad luck actually becomes worse when he finds out that he's the chosen one to take down a group of time-traveling monsters called the Imagine that are trying to destroy time itself. The Imagine grants the wishes of people that have fallen on hard times, and once the wish has been granted, they can teleport to the point in time that the wish was born in that person's heart, and start destroying things at that point in time, which in turn destroys the same thing in the present and rips up the timeline more and more by doing so. One such Imagine is a red Oni-looking guy named Momotaros, who, in the end, couldn't really care for destroying time and would rather just live his life doing what he loves more than anything else: fighting. With more than a bit of hesitance from both parties, and the help of a mysterious time-traveling train called the Denliner and its crew, Hana, Naomi, and the owner, Ryotaro and Momotaro's fuse together to become the hero of time, Kamen Rider Denno. This way, Ryotaro can save time and hopefully keep living his fairly normal life, and Momotaro's can fight to his heart's content. It's a win-win. Why should you start with this show? In honesty, it has some pretty big weaknesses. Mostly in the story of it, in that there isn't much of one until close to the end. For most of the show, it's extremely character-focused, and most of the conflict comes from within the group on the Denliner. And while it's true the plot isn't very strong, it does have one of the strongest and funnest casts in Kamen Rider to date. The overall tone of the series is really silly and funny, but there are points where you will absolutely shed some heavy tears. I'd say Denno was the show that had me the most emotional for almost the entire time. Either I was laughing my dick off, or I was damn close to sobbing because of all the more heart-wrenching scenes of the series. If you're interested in a funny and emotional ride with lots of character play, this is the show for you. Ore! Sanjo! Sorry, I had to do it. Oh man. Kamen Rider OSes. Kamen Rider OSes is a series about a wandering vagabond named Iji Hino, who is going from job to job when he finds himself working as a guard at a museum owned by a company known as the Kogami Foundation, named after its owner, Kosei Kogami, or as I like to call him, the Cake Boss.
Happy birthday! Happy birthday!
While working there, he ends up sleeping through the sudden reawakening of ancient monsters called the Greed, with 3 E's, beings that live off and gain powers from the desires of humans. One of the Greed, Ankh, a rude bird that ended up as just a hand through reasons, ends up finding Iji and uses him as a tool to get more of the core metals that make up the inner workings of the Greed, and the same core metals that Iji uses to transform into Kamen Rider OSes.
Henshin.
Ankh also possesses the body of a handsome cop man and becomes an even more handsomer Birdman. While they don't exactly see eye to eye, Iji and Ankh have to work together to get to the same goal: take out the other Greed and get as many core metals as possible. Why should you start with this show? OS has been somewhat agreed to be the place to start with when it comes to getting a well-rounded feel for how modern Kamen Rider is generally going to be. It's got a good mix of tone between serious and goofy scenes. It has, in my opinion, one of the top 5 suit designs in the series so far. It has lovable and memorable characters, and even the villains end up in situations that make you feel for them. It also has arguably the best soundtrack of any of the series. If you want a really balanced series that stands firmly between serious and fun times, this is the one for you. Kamen Rider Kuga. Kamen Rider Kuga is about a man named Yusuke Godai, a world traveler who, upon returning to Japan from a trip to Indonesia, finds out that a friend and archaeological researcher, Sakurako Sawatari, has decoded hieroglyphs that were engraved on the tomb of Riku, the king of an ancient civilization called the Linto tribe, only to find that it was a literal grave warning. The warning, unfortunately, came too late, and the group that King Riku had locked away so long ago, the Grongi, have returned and plan to start back where they left off, with killing people indiscriminately and viciously for their own sick gain. In the aftermath of the Grongi's return, Godai finds a transformation belt that he had seen in visions, and dons the belt to become Kamen Rider Kuga. King Riku used this form many thousands of years ago when he sealed away the Grongi the first time, but when Godai put it on, it was rather weak, and needed to grow, as it were. With the will of King Riku around his waist, and the help of a detective named Kaoru Ichijo, Godai must take down the Grongi for good and stop their murder spree. Why should you start with this show? Kuga was the first series of the Kamen Rider revival that started in the year 2000, and has a very unique tone and atmosphere going for it. It's fairly dark and has a much more serious and drama-like element to it. The villains of the series, the Grongi, are also extremely interesting because they have their own language that they almost exclusively use throughout the entire show. Some subgroups show the language translated, while others leave the scenes untranslated to add to the mysterious and alien element that the Grongi bring to the series. This show is for sure for people that want to have a solid drama to get them started before branching out. Kamen Rider Forze. Kamen Rider Forze is about a boy named Gentaro Kisaragi, a transfer student to Amanagawa High School, the same school that his childhood friend Yuki Johima and her friend Kengo Utahoshi go to. Gentaro, the sweetest boy who's ever lived, has dedicated himself to his goal at this school, to become friends with literally everyone there. A wrench gets thrown into his plans when students at the school start succumbing to the influence of drug-like devices called core switches. These switches, upon use, turn people into superpowered monsters, the Zodiarcs, which are based on different constellations. The core switches have been handed out to the students by a shadowy group called the Horoscopes, another group of monsters that are based on the actual Zodiac. They're using them to fulfill their evil plans, of which are kind of mysterious at the start of the series. Gentaro has to use the Forze driver and the Astro switches, both invented by Kengo's late father, to take down and strangely befriend the Zodiarcs. Why should you start with this show? Forze is by far the most fun, uplifting, and lighthearted Kamen Rider series to date, with almost all of it having a really comedic atmosphere and a cast of characters that balance each other out perfectly. This show is a simple, light, space-themed romp with a lot of heavy power of friendship themes, and if that's your thing, this is really the show for you. I think that it's one of the most entertaining and fun shows that I've watched in a long time, and ranks as one of my favorite shows in the entire series so far. I gotta do the thing. Everybody. Hold on, I gotta do a thing. Let me move the mic back some. Uchu Kita! Some things you may want to know. Kamen Rider has been, to this point, split up into two separate parts, Showa and Heisei, named after the last two eras in the Japanese imperial government. This terminology is actually rather common for long-running shows in Japan, but for Kamen Rider, it also marks a major stylistic change for the series. Showa Kamen Rider is the older brand. They had very episodic plots, cheap and dated special effects, and overall simple gimmicks. Heisei, on the other hand, are the current brand. They have more overarching plots, special effects ranging from amazing to just okay, and dynamic, unique gimmicks between each show. The Showa series go in this order: Kamen Rider, V3, X, Amazon, Stronger, Sky Rider, Super 1, a movie called The Birth of the 10th, Kamen Rider All Together, which brought in Z-Cross, or Z-Cross, depending on when you want to say it, it's kind of weird. Black RX, Shin Kamen Rider, Zeto-O, and J. Heisei to this date has been Kuga, Agito, Ryuki, Fives, Blade, Hibiki, Kabuto, Denno, Kiva, Decade, Double, OSes, Forze, Wizard, Gaim, Drive, Ghost, X-Aid, and the newest series as of the making of this video, Kamen Rider Build. Yeah! There's also a more adult series called Kamen Rider Amazons, which is a bit of an offshoot of the Showa series Kamen Rider Amazon. And it's a thing. It's very violent. Something else that you might think about when coming into the series is, how about those female Kamen Riders and how do they work into everything? And there I have a bit of unfortunate news. When it comes to the female Kamen Riders of the series so far, there's about 10. 11 if you count Tackle, but not a lot of people count her, unfortunately. And it's a bit rough, because some of them, especially recent ones, have been getting a little bit more play, just a little bit, but more often than not, they're only bit parts. They either stay for only one episode, or they stay for a movie, or something along those lines, and there's a good chance that they will die, unfortunately. Earlier on. Not so much now. Earlier on, though. Most definitely. And if they didn't die, then yeah, they only had like bit parts. They stayed for one episode or one movie, and that was about it. And like I said, newer ones have been doing a bit better with it, but even then, it is still a bit of a rough deal, because they're not getting the kind of screen time and fight time that a lot of the other guys get. So if you're expecting to have like a lot of really badass girls doing really badass things along with the guys doing really badass things, and that's something that's really important to you when you're getting into a series, that will be a little bit of a downturn for you. You're gonna be kind of disappointed with that. Hopefully you can still enjoy it as it is, but if it is something that is vitally important to you for this kind of thing, you might be a little disappointed. I'm sorry. In regards to Decade, Decade is a weird case when it comes to the series, because most everyone has their own opinions as to where to start, but it's generally agreed to absolutely not start at Decade. It was a series that was made as a celebration of 10 years of the Heisei series, spanning from Kuga to itself, by having the main character, Tsukasa, travel between alternate reality versions of the worlds of the past Kamen Riders to try and find his original world, and it was questionable to say the least. There were things to love in it, absolutely, but it suffered from pacing issues, a general lack of plot when there really should have been some, and the alternate realities both gave spoilers for the past shows while not doing them full justice by being wildly different. It also kind of didn't have a real ending. Like, it stopped, but it didn't really have any real resolution to the little plot there was. After watching at least some of the pre-Decade Heisei stuff, I'd say check it out for yourself to decide, but until then, let it be, dog. In closing, I hope this video helped you decide where you'd like to start in regards to the series. And if you have any more questions, I'd be happy to answer them. As for where you can actually watch it, most everything is up online for you to stream and watch, as there isn't any real official way of watching the series in English just yet. I hope you have a good time with this series, and come to love the flashy heroics as much as I and many others do. If you like this video, and it helped you at all, leave me a like, leave me a comment, leave me a subscribe, and check out my, cool Let's Play channel as well, because I have a lot more videos over there than I do at this one, at least right now. I'm working on it, though. But hey, if you also liked this enough to maybe support me and help me get out more videos, check out my Patreon and Ko-fi. With that kind of support, I can probably make more videos a lot faster than I can right now. Anyways, I hope that you have a good day. I hope that you have a good night. I hope that you have a good whenever you're listening to or watching this video. I love you very much. Goodbye now. Bye now, bye. Bye now, see ya.